So what will happen to the interstate property market? So for those of you who've been following me for a while or know me personally, I've been buying property in these areas since 2017, all the way up until 2020. When I was going to these markets, particularly Adelaide, that was my favorite spot out of the different states apart from New South Wales. People were saying to me, "You're crazy, you're nuts, why are you touching these areas that nobody wants?" But there was definitely an opportunity in the market. And of course, in hindsight, we can all see that. So the reason why I went down to these states was firstly yield. So for me, negatively geared properties do make sense for a particular part of your life in terms of your investment strategy. However, the property is still losing you money every single month, and you need to fork out that cash monthly to keep up with the repayments, even though you get a tax refund at the end of the year. So I was searching for properties that were positively geared. So that means more rent coming in than the expenses were going out. At that point in time, properties, especially the areas which I was looking up at Elizabeth North, so the north of Adelaide, as well as the north of WA. And what happened in these markets is you had very low buy prices. So you could buy a 3-bedroom house with 1 garage, brick home for about 170 and 180. Of course, it looks crazy now to think back that things were so cheap. But at that point in time, if you bought something for 170, you whacked 20% down, which was to cancel your LMI, you're only borrowing about 130 or 140 grand. So if you do the numbers and stack everything up, those numbers were very attractive for me at that point in time, and it made sense. So this happened multiple times. It was the same vanilla type of calculation. More money coming in, the rent going out, beautiful. Even if the property prices were not going to increase, at that point in time I didn't know, the properties were still paying themselves off. And after 30 years, I would have had an asset that was fully paid off, even if property prices didn't move at all. So that was my logic, that was my thinking. So I used to catch the 6:05 a.m. flight down to Adelaide, meet 20 or 30 real estate agents via the open homes. At that point in time, there was no one there. It was basically me and maybe a few other investors around, but the market was definitely a lot quieter. Nothing was really happening. I used to stay there for the day, get back into the car, get back to the airport, see all the properties that I liked, narrow down which ones I thought were better investments. And a bit of background about me, I've been buying properties since 2007, so I sort of know what I was looking for. So I'd narrow down those 20 or 30 properties down to a few, and if I wanted to buy something, I'd make an offer. The Adelaide process in particular was very different. It was very slow at that point in time. Things are a lot faster now, but it used to take a week or two before prices got confirmed and before the actual sales process was going to happen. So what I think is going to happen now. So what I realized at the beginning of the year is there was a lot of gains from properties being purchased so far back then. And I think at the beginning of the year, I made a decision to start liquidating the interstate portfolio. So I did do that. I sold the last property last week. On Friday it settled. It was a commercial property. So that is all done. And I've fully exited the interstate markets. And the reason for this is I think prices have gone up really, really fast. You can't expect things to go up 20 or 30% per year forever. Or in saying that, even things that have been 5 or 6 years old, they've tripled in prices. So at some point, something has got to give. Things must slow down and they must revert back to the mean or to the average. If things don't slow down, then we're going to get a runaway house price situation, and it's going to cause other instabilities within the banking system, where there's just too much debt, not much productivity, and this is what basically caused the GFC in 2008. So I'm not saying that's going to happen now. I think the Australian banks are really strong, but I think at some point something's got to give, and the numbers at the moment for me, they just don't make sense. I don't see the value in going to buy a property for 700 grand, getting only $600 or $700 a week, being highly negatively geared, and then hoping that property in 2 or 3 years' time is going to be worth $1 million. Yes, it could happen. I don't want to rain on anyone's parade. However, if we look back at history, I don't think it will happen, just because things cannot continue to go up the way they have forever.